seats. You all look amazing tonight. Service starts in 5 minutes. All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan, and I'm the pastor here. It's so good to be with you all on this beautiful Saturday evening where it is spring, so it feels like spring. It was like 80 degrees today. How about that? Snow next week. Hey, welcome, everybody. Welcome if you're joining us online. You're part of this community. We're so glad you're part of this community. Welcome to everyone here in the room. I should have said up front, I should remind y'all, this is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And there's one thing we don't do here, and it consists of 4 words. And on a count of 3, I want y'all to say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we don't do shame in this community. That's a very important, not just a tagline for us, but a value of what we stand for statement, and we take it seriously here. So, hey, a few things y'all need to know about this evening. 1, look around. I know y'all online can't see this. I'm a little bit dressed up tonight. I got a black flowery shirt on and my white jeans. But if you look around this room, you're going to see people in suits and ties and dresses. And look at y'all beautiful people. You clean up nicely. It's the best I've ever seen y'all look. It's our Black Tie Affair event tonight. Can we put it on the screen, please? There it is. March 26th, which is tonight. So this is one of our after parties. So stick around afterwards. We're celebrating the opening of the free cafe. So I encourage y'all to get a coffee, a latte. There's paninis back there and sandwiches. We also have, and these are free, no cost. It's first come, first serve. Crumble cookies are back there. So if you, whoa, man, you say sugar in a room full of alcoholics, and you're like, whoa. If you want a crumble cookie, they're back there. First come, first serve. Get you a latte to go with it. They taste better, I promise. So we're just going to hang out afterwards and create community, because recovery, we have a good time in recovery. So there's going to be a live pianist here in the house celebrating the cafe, and hang out and get to know people, connect. So seriously, even if you're not dressed up, that is totally okay. If you're in jeans and flip-flops, shorts and flip-flops, a tank tops, even without a shirt, Ben, you can, please do dress. Please do wear something, but no dress code. Just come as you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next thing after the after party. Hey, if you're new with us tonight, if this is your first time here as a guest with us, welcome. We're glad you're here. We have welcome bags just outside of these doors. They're in little black bags. Derek would be happy to get you one, I'm sure. They have fresh roasted wagon coffee in it, the freshest coffee you're ever going to have, because it was literally roasted either today or yesterday. It has just some other things in there so you can get to know us and get a feel for who we are. Hey, listen, the softball team kicks off soon, the free softball team. I've heard, is Brandon in the house? There he is. Brandon, how many people are supposed to be on, or how many people do we have on the team? How many? 44? 24. Oh, I was like, that's like 2 teams. We have 24 people on the team. So I'm speaking to you 24 people for a moment. Not all of you have paid yet. It's totally cool. You got a couple days left, but be sure and Venmo the cost to do softball, and that's for your entire season, and a shirt. This covers the registration fee. It's $100. So Venmo that to free. If you've got questions, talk to Brandon or talk to Derek over here. And man, it's going to be fun. I'm not signed up this year, but I might be able to come in as like a guest player sometimes, Brandon told me. But it's going to be fun to watch y'all kick some booty. It's going to be awesome. All right, one other thing. Thank you to all of you who came out to Sober Open Mic Night this week. Man, we had a blast. We were hoping to get 10 people sign up to perform. We had over 20 people, so we actually went a little over. This place was packed, and we were supporting one another. Y'all were clapping for one another, and we had some, I could not believe the talent in this community. I mean, we had some Darren Valdez kind of talent in this room. It was sweet, y'all. It was really, really awesome. So thank you all for supporting that. We're going to be doing another one soon. We'll have details on that soon. Okay, that's enough out of me this evening. We are going to go into how we begin in this community, and that is with celebrations. It's how we start. We celebrate together. We believe that there's something so powerful and profound about lifting up the good stuff. We don't ignore the hard stuff. We just don't start with the hard stuff. We're going to start by lifting up the good stuff, and we know that God joins with us in the good stuff and celebrates with us. So this is your opportunity. If you're online with us tonight or throughout the week, take 3 minutes. Put it in the YouTube comments if you're on YouTube, or Facebook if you're on Facebook. Drop it in the comments. There ain't nothing creepy about it. I know it can feel awkward if it's your first time, but remember, we don't do shame, so just drop in a line. What are you celebrating? What can we celebrate with you this week? And if you're here in the house, just slip up your hand. D-Dog will pass up. D-Dog, who calls you that? I do. Derek will pass around the mic to you, so just stand up, and maybe it's a sobriety anniversary or a birthday or a new baby being born or a new job that's been had, or maybe you're new tonight and you want to celebrate that. We'll celebrate that. Anyway, whatever's on your heart to celebrate, let's take 3.
It's on? I'm going to start off. I just want to say,
hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go. Got that smile upon my face, 'cause there's excitement in the chase, this I know. Yeah, I'm going for the ride and find myself, I am alive, and I soar. Still I run towards the wind and let the challenge draw me in, 'cause I want more. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. 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 Oh, wake up heart and wake up mind, and see the world is yours to find, and with every passing day there's more, calling you out to explore. Get up and go. There is joy found in the race, and I feel it in the place where I'm free. And I simply can't deny it, that I feel adventure calling out to me. Yeah, we are all looking for adventure. 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 We are all looking for and I'm living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be living free, living free, living free.
Hey, Derek, can I just say, do you realize in this room how many miracles are just like sitting here like it ain't no big deal? I mean, it's just so awesome. Thank you all for giving us the opportunity to celebrate with you. Oh, keep that one over there, actually. I know, look at her. Can I just be the first one to say, you are looking hot tonight. H-O-T, hot.
Thank you. I can't do heels anymore, I discovered, after 4 kids.
You're not wearing them?
No, I have them there, but...
Oh, you should have worn them up
I know,
here.
they hurt my feet. They do.
You do you, boo. You do you. All right, shall we celebrate with our online community?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. You go first.
Sharon says... Oh, it's not Sharon, I don't think.
Yeah, it is Sharon. Yeah.
Sharon and
Sharon
I-
and Trip.
Oh,
so maybe it's
I think
Trip.
it's Trip. Sharon and I are celebrating spending time with family and friends this week as people begin to arrive for the big wedding day. Yay! Yeah.
Yeah, we'll celebrate that. And next Saturday, they're getting married, and I get to officiate their wedding.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
They got
Yeah.
little bags for gifts, too. Little
Yeah, they got
wagon
little
bags.
coffee bags for the... Oh, we shouldn't say that, because what if it's a
Oh,
surprise?
crap.
Shoot, wedding party, if you're
Sorry,
watching,
guys.
she just blew your gift.
Oh.
You're getting coffee. All right. I'll take this one. This is Pamela. Pamela says, I am so grateful to my sister-in-law for driving 2 hours round trip to visit my son in jail, his only visitor ever. He has a long way to go, but she said he looks much better than when he showed up on her doorstep, and that does this mother's heart good. Pamela, we're
Absolutely.
celebrating that with you.
Yeah.
It's the small things that are the big things. Thank you for sharing that with us.
And Jackie says, we got to celebrate our associates at work for a great half. We had an 80s theme and got all dressed up and cooked for them. We had a blast, and the associates loved it. That sounds fun.
All right, Jackie.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Dan and Cindy Rapp joining us from the YouTube, celebrating 2.5 months into an incredible job at UCH where I am appreciated, respected, and get to share my gifts. The prayers I have received from my team this month have been inspiring. That's
So
awesome,
good.
Cindy. Thank you for sharing that with us. We are assuming that was Cindy and not Dan, don't you think? I think it was Cindy. Okay.
You never know.
You never know.
Jen says, today Christy and I celebrated our friend Barry's return home to be with his Lord and Savior. It was a beautiful service, and we are honored to be a part of it. We miss our friend, but we know he is whole again. Fly with the angels, my friend.
Yeah, we'll celebrate that with you, Jen. The tension. All right. Shannon says, still fighting the fight, and what a gift to be unveiled at a 30-day residency and able to join you all live stream. Grateful for this journey and trusting with all my heart in God's timing for me. Shannon, we're glad you're with us
Shannon.
tonight, and our series is on the fight of your life, so perfect language for that. Thank you for joining us, Shannon, and thank you for sharing that with us. We're celebrating you and cheering you on, right, y'all? Thank you, Tammy, for joining me up here. I'll see you in a little bit. All right, y'all, it's we're like I just said, we're in the midst of this series called The Fight of Your Life, where we are talking about relapse and getting back up. Take a look.
I don't wish to waste my life on futile matters, on the whisper of mist that is most men's days. For those who do, I say, do not concede to that of stone. The fight that is before us is but the calling to awaken one's soul. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in us all.
So it is the second week in the fight of your life where we are talking about relapse and getting back up, because I hope y'all do know this is something we need to be talking about, right? Probably on a regular basis. Now, I know it was a really long time ago. Some of y'all may not remember this, but raise your hand if you remember the year 2020. Yeah. We laugh because it's all kind of a blur, isn't it? I mean, it seems like it was forever ago and yesterday at the same time. If you're a bit fuzzy on what happened in 2020, well, we got slammed with a global pandemic called COVID-19 or the coronavirus. And if you remember what happened in 2020, remember we got sent into lockdown, we were isolated, we stopped connecting with one another, and not just physically. I mean, we stopped connecting emotionally, mentally, spiritually. We stopped connecting with each other. We stopped giving each other hugs. We stopped getting together and looking at each other in the eyeballs. We were disconnected from one another, and the experts were telling us throughout 2020, they said, when it comes to the addiction and recovery community, this is not good. This is not good. They're predicting well over 30% of an increase in relapse, and what happened in 2020, well over 30% increase in relapse. And so I want to throw this image on the screen, Drew, that you had up just a moment ago. Sorry, it's a little small. I'll try to explain it to you. They just came out with some statistics last week where they compared 2019 to 2020 of alcohol-related deaths, and they broke it down by age groups. Can y'all see that? 16 to 20-year-olds. Alcohol-related deaths increased by nearly 30%. Check out that 35 to 44-year-old range. By the way, who's in that age demographic? No shame. Come on, let's own it. I'll be in my 30s for one more week. Yeah, almost a 40% increase in alcohol-related deaths just in that year. Do you all see why we say this game of relapse, it's deadly? Yeah, and see, these are just alcohol-related deaths. By the way, alcohol-related deaths in 2020 outnumbered COVID deaths among adults younger than the age of 65. This is just alcohol, y'all. We haven't even touched the opioid crisis that we know is happening, or the fentanyl crisis that we know has taken over 100,000 lives last year. And see, maybe you're here tonight, or you're watching online, and you are struggling to get clean and sober. And you keep falling. And a piece of you knows that this stuff is deadly. But I want to approach it from a slightly different angle, because maybe you've relapsed in the past, or maybe you're in the midst of a relapse right now. And you've told yourself that no one's going to know. Oh, you're getting away with it. Maybe even the ones who know you best, they don't even know. You're getting away with something. Maybe even good things are happening to you in your life. Your life hasn't completely unraveled yet. Do y'all know the first time I got sober? It was December 12th of 2011. I went back out. I relapsed in May of 2012. You know what else happened in May of 2012? Yeah, this was embarrassing. My boss called, Reverend Paul Kotke. He was right down the street, the senior pastor at University Park United Methodist Church, just less than a mile from here. And I was one of the associate pastors there, and I was doing campus ministry at the University of Denver out of that office. And see, the problem is, he called me after the hours of 5 p.m. So y'all know what that means. I was down in the basement, alone, isolated, by that time good and drunk. And it wasn't a really important conversation. I was blacked out. I couldn't remember the conversation. So what I learned the next day was a big deal happened. I was getting in the United Methodist churches, as clergy, we get appointed to different churches, and I was getting my first ever appointment. I was going to a larger church in Highlands Ranch. And this was a big deal. And I woke up the next morning and I told my wife, Tammy, I said, it's kind of weird. Apparently I talked to Paul last night. My cell phone, I had the cell phone thing that shows you how long the conversation was. It was an 18-minute conversation. I said, yeah, I talked to Paul last night. She said, what do you mean apparently? That's kind of weird. I said, well, honey, because what do we do as addicts and alcoholics? We lie. We lie. Well, honey, you got to understand, I was just so excited and so overwhelmed, and I didn't have a notebook, so I couldn't take notes, and I don't remember all the details. It's fuzzy. But I think I'm being appointed somewhere else, and I think we may be moving, and I think compensation goes up. I think it's kind of a big deal. She says, well, don't you think you should call Paul and get the details since it affects me? So I call Paul. What do we do as alcoholics and addicts? We lie. Paul, I was so excited last night. So good to talk to you. But I can't exactly remember all the details because I didn't have a notebook next to me and I was so overwhelmed. Paul, can you just tell me what is happening in my life? Which, those words are so true, aren't they? Because that's what I wanted. Can someone just tell me what is happening in my life? Why did I pick up a drink again? Why is it this way again? Why am I a blackout drunk again when I thought I had enough willpower this time? You see, I tell you that story to remind you, don't be fooled. In your relapse, good things can happen. Some of y'all can tell me the same stories. The new jobs you got in relapse, a new home you got, that new relationship with that special somebody. But for how long? How long until it all starts to crumble? You see, because in my experience, your recovery will never work if the only thing keeping you from picking back up is this fear of getting found out, the fear of people knowing. We need to ask better questions. Do you want to live an honest life? And do you want peace and wholeness even if it costs you something? You see, because the truth is, I do not abstain from drinking today because of some fear that I might get found out or that I might not be able to get away with it. I don't pick up a drink today because the obsession has been removed from me. God has done and is doing for me what I could never, ever do to myself. I don't pick up a drink today because it's not part of my life today. I don't pick up a drink today because I know if I did, it's going to take everything meaningful from me, starting with my interior life. You see the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous in the early pages, in this part that's called Bill's Story. It talks about this beautiful thing that happens of being, their words not mine, inwardly reorganized. Yeah. That's the gift we get to experience in recovery when we begin to think differently, see differently, behave differently, because our lives are being inwardly reorganized. But y'all know as well as I do, it all starts with what? A bit of humility and honesty. Anyone seen the movie Flight? Denzel Washington. Oh my goodness, not enough of you raised your hands. About half of you did. The other half of you need to go home and watch this movie tonight. It's that good, I'm telling y'all. I'll give you a little recap. Flight, Whip Whitaker is a commercial airline pilot, and it's played by the great Denzel Washington. But see, he has a problem with drugs and alcohol. So far, he has managed to complete all of his flights safely until one day his luck runs out. And there was this disastrous mechanical failure, and it sent the plane twirling down to the ground. Experts in the film were saying everyone should have died. No one should have lived in this crash. But Whip Whitaker, even in the midst of his addiction, because remember, good things can happen to you even under the influence, even in your addiction. He did a miraculous thing and saved this flight and did a crash landing, and only 6 people on the flight died. It was said to be a miracle. And Whip is shaken to his core, so he vows that he's going to get sober. He's not going to drink anymore. But then the crash investigation exposes his addiction, and he finds himself in an even worse situation. He struggles to get sober and hold it all together. But luckily for Whip, he has this great legal team. They're willing to cover up everything. They're willing to cover up the toxicology reports that show that he was under the influence of drugs and alcohol. They're willing to cover up the 2 vodka bottles that are found right outside the captain's door. And they're willing to blame it on one of the flight attendants who died in that crash. I mean, Whip was about to get away with it. He just had to do one more lie, then he would be free. But see, he was tired and exhausted. Y'all remember it? And he finally gave himself to some honesty and humility, and it came with a great cost. Here's the courtroom scene.
I'm sorry, my what?
Your opinion, Captain. Since her toxicology report is the only toxicology report that is admissible in this hearing, and she in fact tested positive for alcohol, is it your opinion that Katerina Marquez drank those 2 bottles of vodka on the plane? I'm sorry, Mr. Whitaker, I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
I said, God help me.
Yes, well, however, is it your opinion?
It's my opinion. Trina did not drink that vodka.
Excuse me, Mr. Whitaker?
She saved the boy's life. That's...
Could you speak louder, Captain
Trina
Whitaker?
Marquez did not drink the vodka. Because I drank the vodka. Objection!
Please be seated, sir.
Whitaker misspoke.
Sir,
I drank the vodka bottles.
I said I object.
please be seated, sir. This is not a courtroom.
Well, I object anyway.
I drank the vodka bottles on the plane.
Captain Whitaker, on the 3 nights before the accident, October 11th.
October 11th, October 12th, and 13th, and 14th, I was intoxicated. I drank all of those days. I drank in excess.
On the morning of the accident.
I was drunk. I'm drunk now. I'm drunk right now, Miss Block. Because I'm an alcoholic.
God help me. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful prayers addicts and alcoholics can utter. God help me. The film ends with him sitting in a prison cell. He went to prison for this, and he's looking at cards that were sent to him from friends and family celebrating his 1 year sober. And then that final scene, he's seen talking to a group of prison mates. And he's telling them that I have zero regrets over doing the right thing. And he's helping them in their recovery. And then he says, I know it sounds crazy coming from a guy sitting in a prison cell, but for the first time in my life, I'm free. You see, when it comes to your relapse, you might be able to get away with it. No one will know. But let me ask you a question. Do you want to be free? You know, a simple observation shows us that without humility and honesty, nothing new ever happens. Because humility and honesty, they're the foundation to our connection to everything meaningful. They're our foundation to our connection with God. And these virtues of surrender, well, they never come easily, do they? In fact, most of us have to crawl our way back. It's that place of surrender, and it can be such a painful process. And it's painful because so many of us, we want to hold on to our lives. We want to hold on tightly. Just give me one more try. This time it'll be different. I'm more mature this time. I'm older this time. I've got more wisdom this time. I've got more willpower this time. And let me ask you another question. Would you give yourself to humility, honesty, and surrender if you knew nothing but love and mercy was waiting for you on the other side? So there's this really fascinating passage from John's Gospel. From Mark's Gospel. Mark chapter 8. Jesus is standing around with his disciples, and he's speaking with a crowd of people, and he goes into like his central message, and he does it in just a few lines. So check this out. Mark chapter 8, verse 34 through 37. He says to the crowd of people and the disciples, all who want to come after me must say no to themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. All who want to save their lives will lose them, but all who lose their lives because of me and because of the good news will save them. Why would people gain the whole world but lose their lives? What will people give in exchange for their lives? Now, y'all, whenever we read the scriptures, I hope you have the freedom. We need to do this. You need to ask it the best questions you can come up with. The best and hardest questions. Let it be your dialogue partner. So does this passage raise some questions? Yeah, like, Jesus, what exactly do you mean say no to yourself? Or other translations say renounce yourself. What does that mean? And by the way, Pastor, we don't do shame here, right? And by saying no to yourself, isn't that kind of shame producing? Second question, take up your cross. I mean, come on, Jesus. I mean, if I'm understanding the metaphor correctly, I mean, this thing didn't exactly turn out well for you. I mean, you were crucified. You were put to death on this thing by Roman soldiers. What do you mean? And Jesus, by the way, while we're at it, I think you're inviting me to come and die. And in the same breath, you call this good news. Could you do some explaining? And Jesus, is it possible, because what I really want, I just want to keep the world and keep my soul at the same time. Can you teach me how to do that? You see, this text is fascinating, isn't it? How does Jesus talk about real life and good news? He starts with death. When the Bible tells the story of new life, how does the story go? Jesus is alive, put on a cross, dead, crucified, dies, raises. I mean, it's about a Jesus who dies and raises again, and Jesus is hitting on something here. Death is always the engine to new life. I mean, this is the way the world works. Think of the apple. There's an apple growing on the tree. You pick that apple off the tree. It's thriving there. You pick it off, what happens in that moment? That apple is dying. It begins the process of dying. Then you get to take a bite of that apple, and it starts to give you nutrients and fuel. It actually gives you life. You see the process? Life, death, new life. By the way, how'd that tree get there? Yeah, a seed. A seed had to fall. Life. Where does that seed go because of the rains? Deep into the ground, into the darkness. You don't think anything's happening. That seed's gone. Then all of a sudden, boom, new life. Life, death, new life. Take up your cross. It's about dying so that something new can live. The central message of Jesus is he teaches us how to come and die so that we can actually live. All the things that keep us from humility and honesty, all the things that keep us from real life, Jesus invites those parts of us to die. The parts of us that are always consumed with fear, the parts of us that always compare ourselves to others, the parts of us that crave power and control, the parts of us that always have to be right, the parts of us that are convinced that we can do it this time and we can hold it together this time. Jesus invites those parts of us to die so that we can actually live. So let me ask you again. Would you give yourself to humility and honesty if you knew nothing but love and mercy was awaiting you on the other side? Because, see, the problem is, I think there's so many of us who really don't believe that. We've been handed a God in religion that is just so angry. This God is just waiting to pound on you at your next misstep. So what do? We learn how to approach God through shame and sacrifice. If I can just be good enough, if I can just do more, if I could be more, if I could give more, then maybe this God would like me and this God will spare me of some wrath. And it's interesting because over and over in the scriptures, we see a God who says, don't you get it? I don't want your sacrifices. There's this Old Testament book called Amos, an Old Testament prophet. And in the 5th chapter, God says to Amos, you think I like your religious festivals? It's like a noisy gong. That's not what I wanted. What I wanted was for you to do what's right. What I wanted was your heart. And then remember the first book of the Bible, Genesis chapter 22. Father Abraham, remember Father Abraham? Father Abraham had many sons had Father Abraham. I'm one of them, and so are you. So let's just praise the, that Father Abraham. He's in many Christian circles still today. He's hailed and lifted up as a hero. And it's confusing because Abraham thinks that God is calling him to go up to a mountain and take his son and sacrifice him, kill him. So Abraham gets up early that morning. He takes his son Isaac up this mountain. He says, oh, don't worry, Isaac, just lay there. It's only going to hurt for a minute. Don't worry, Isaac, I'm obeying God on this one. I'm doing this out of love. And remember what happens? He raises a knife to stick it in his son, and God stops him and says, Abraham, stop. What are you doing? You think I need a sacrifice? You think I need the blood? No. The other gods need that stuff. I never needed the blood. I never needed the sacrifice. Stop. And then remember Jesus. I mean, in the New Testament, he is relentless against those who think they can earn their way to get God's favor. Remember that story? He walks into the temple and he starts turning over tables. He says, y'all created a stupid system. You got to buy a sacrifice, literally buy an animal, bring it into the temple, and then shed blood on that animal, and now God's good with you? And he says, not only that, you've created a system that hurts the poor because the poor can't buy that animal and make that sacrifice. You've created a system of insiders and outsiders. Stop. Do you see how easily we can be deceived into thinking that we are loved because we are good enough or moral enough or spiritual enough or right enough? My brothers and sisters, we touched on it last week, and I will remind you, God is already well pleased with you. Do you remember the story of Jesus' baptism? He hadn't done anything yet. His ministry hadn't started. He hasn't given any sermons. He hasn't gathered any crowds. He hasn't done any healings. And he's brought down in the water in this Jordan River, and then he comes up, and this voice from heaven shouts down, "You are my son, whom I dearly love, and you I find happiness." In our vernacular, it would read, "That's my boy." Speaking of not doing anything lately, you know who hasn't done much lately? This dude. 3 years old, bricks in his glory, legs spread wide open, feet together, taking a nap last week on the couch. Man, y'all, he has not done any dishes. He has not done a single load of laundry. The boy does zero chores. I can't tell you the last time he filled up my gas tank. But do y'all see? If love was measured by what you could do, well, it doesn't turn out very good for us, does it? If love was measured on what he could do, what a mess. That's my boy. I love him because that's my boy. There's nothing he could do to get me to love him any more or any less. I love him because he's my boy and he brings me great joy. In him, I find happiness. You see, my brothers and sisters, do you believe that when God sees you, even in the depths of your mess, the depths of your addiction, even in your relapse, that when God sees you, God says, "That's my girl. That's my boy. You and you and you, sons and daughters whom I dearly love, in you I find happiness." You see, are you holding on to your life so tightly that you're actually losing it? Did you buy into the thinking somewhere along the way that you're getting away with it? Really? Have you gained the world but lost your soul? What things in you need to die so that you can truly live? And would you give yourself to humility, honesty, and surrender if you knew that nothing but love and mercy was awaiting you on the other side? And listen, surrender will always feel like death, and yet it's the necessary path to liberation. Surrender doesn't mean you won't have any consequences. You might, some big ones, but in my experience, it always leads to freedom. So in just a moment, a song's going to play. And like we did last week, I want to invite you all to sit in a reflective moment and to sit in a quiet moment and reflect. Or if you'd like to move to one of these candles and light a candle and say a prayer for someone who's in the battle of relapse. And maybe it's you. Maybe you need to say a prayer. We light a candle to stand in solidarity with them and remind them that we're not in this alone and they're not alone. We do this together. So during this song, if you'd like to light one of the candles up here on this stage, I invite you to do so, or you can simply sit and reflect. my boy Lecrae, taught him everything he knows. No, so it was between this song and another song this week, and I won't tell you all what the other song was because maybe we'll play it next week, but I asked my wife, and she said, yeah, we're doing Lecrae tonight. She said, I love this song. It's just the rhythm to it makes it do something. So someone should get on the Facebook post right now, and in a tag in the post, in the comments, tag Lecrae and tell him we want him to come here one week. Are y'all with me? All right. But for now, we don't have Lecrae. We have a guest storyteller in the house because we have a guest storyteller every week. This week, since we're talking about relapse, y'all know Sydney, stand up for me. Sydney's our guest storyteller. You might remember 2 weeks ago, she raised her hand, or Bobby raised his hand in the back, and she celebrated 1 year sober. Woo! All right, so will y'all help me welcome Sydney McKelvey to the stage? And some of y'all also know that Sydney does the tech team in the back most weeks. So you don't see her up here very often because she's running things from the back. But the fellas got a handle tonight, do they? They need you, Sydney. I know it. I know it.
Yeah, they're okay.
They're all right.
Okay.
One of them especially is okay, right?
I mean,
We'll get to that in a bit. All right, Sydney, let's jump into it. So tell us, I want you to tell us, I want to get to your relapse in just a moment, but first tell us, you had a big moment of surrender back in, what year was it, 2017. You tried to get sober since you were 21 years old. So it's not like this addiction thing kind of crept up on you, and you've been trying to get sober since 21. In fact, you told me at 16 months sober, you started doing some of your own research to prove that AA didn't work, and you tried to research how you could become a normal drinker. How'd that work out for you?
it didn't. It
Yeah,
did not
me
work.
too.
No.
Me too. 2017, you get a DUI, and then you had this moment like in a church group. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so so I got this DUI in 2017, which was awful. And at that point in my life, I mean, I had nothing left but my mom. And she was like, "You're going to do everything I say to you," and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I have nothing. So so she told me to try this church group out, and it was a place where you could explore your questions about God. And I mean, and at that point, I was really angry at God. So I reluctantly went, and about 2 weeks into this church group, and about 3 weeks after my DUI, I found myself one night in my room at my mom's house, just kind of falling to the floor on my knees, just sobbing for help, because I was just so lost, and I just fell asleep like that, just crying myself to sleep, asking God for help. You know, there was like black tears on the carpet and just like streamed down my face, and in the morning I woke up, changed. I mean, everything changed. My outlook, who I was, the direction of my life, everything changed. So I can't explain what happened. I just know that I let go of everything I knew, I didn't know, and everything changed for the better.
So let me ask the obvious question, because it's the one we all want to ask, right? So you surrendered.
I did.
What happened? I mean, how do you find yourself being drunk again?
Good question. So after that surrender, I was on fire for God. I was on fire for God and my spirituality and AA, and you know, I did the steps, and I was super involved, and I found myself caught up in a relationship which ended in marriage, and quickly after that ended in me having my little girl. And that marriage didn't, you know, work out. But after I had my daughter, I was very isolated. The marriage kind of had me isolated, but when I had my daughter, that's what I was. I was a mom, and that's it. Sydney kind of stopped. AA stopped. God stopped. It was all about her. And so my community kind of fell short. My relationship with God, AA, all my resources, all my tools, I didn't have that. So when I moved back home after my marriage ended, and COVID hit, and
Dang it, COVID.
yeah, and I was okay. Like leaving that marriage was good, and going home was a good thing, you know. And my mom is sober, and I have a very good support system, so it wasn't in like the worst place. But I didn't have the resources and the tools anymore because I had isolated myself so much.
Yeah, and let me just say, because you did say this up front, but I'm going to out you a little bit, Sydney, because you weren't just like a take a sip of Cabernet kind of drinker. All right, you told me when we were meeting that you were blackout drunk.
Yeah.
I mean, you said, in fact, when you woke up in the morning, you were doing this, shaking, and the first thing you had to do was take 4 shots of vodka every morning.
Yeah, and I had to plan it out. and that was years and years of drinking. How I had to do it was, I had to make sure that I had those 4 shots so that I could stabilize, stop the shakes to get to the liquor store by 9. So that I could start my drinking again.
And your DUI happened when you were leaving a liquor store in the morning to get more vodka?
No.
Oh, did I get that wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
I mean,
Correct
that
me.
day, I was at my mom's. I don't know why she let me stay that night, but that morning I had woken up and in a blackout. I don't remember if I needed those 4 shots or not, but I did end up at that liquor store. And then we went to Target to buy shoes, which I don't really remember because I had hit like 3 or 4 or 5 other liquor stores at that time. During the day, I had about 25 shots that day. But I remember prior to going home, I forgot that I hadn't made my bed. And you see, that was a big deal. And I was freaking out that I hadn't made my bed because I was going to get in trouble. So instead of going, to a meeting like my mom told me to do at Target, she's like, "You're drunk, you need to go to a meeting." And I was like, okay.
Your life is falling apart, but I'm glad you could go home and make your bed.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm racing home, but then, I need to stock up for the night. So I stop again at a liquor store on my way home, which is the same liquor store that I began at.
Yeah.
Anyways, I parked in the middle of an aisle. Some guy knocked on my door, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yes." And
Makes sense.
I was fine. He reported me, I guess. I made it home fine, and I was just parked outside my house texting somebody about how my stepdad was already home and he was going to be pissed about my bed. And the cops knocked on my window, and I had asked them nicely. I said, "Well, I'm home, so can I just go inside? Like, we're good?" No. So I got, yeah.
Okay, so sorry, I took you back a little bit, but I think it's important for people to see sometimes how bad addiction is. But so you were sober for 3 years.
I was.
You started disconnecting from all the things that worked in your life to get you sober.
Yep.
You started to disconnect.
Yep.
COVID hits.
Yep.
You had no tools, no support system, no spiritual life, no God in your life. And then you decide to go to Cabo.
A year later, so COVID hits. I drank for a couple months in 2020. I decided to go to a rehab facility. Mainly, I felt like it was for like a mental health break at that point because I felt like I was crazy. Not do the drinking necessarily as much as like everything else going on. But so I went there, sobered up, and then I decided I could smoke weed, and that was still sober. And then, during that not drinking time, we went to Cabo last March. And that sucked. We got down, we landed in Mexico, and, they have the bars right at the airport, and I was just pissed. I was pissed because everyone was drinking, and I couldn't. And my boyfriend at the time, sorry, Bobby, he was hustling our driver to get us weed in Mexico, and I was like, I don't want that,
Oh, Bobby?
So, I hung on 2 days, and then I was just like, yeah, no, I don't even care. And I didn't care, and that's
So you spent the week drunk.
wasted.
You get home.
Got home, and
You're wasted. You can't see your daughter.
Yeah.
How old's Sunny now?
She's 2.
So she would have been 1 when
Nope.
this happened?
Yeah. Yep,
She's
was a
2.5, right?
Yeah, so she would have been at 1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
so
happened?
the day I'm supposed to pick her up, I'm way too drunk to drive, and I just don't show up. I just don't go, and I blew up my life real bad. My ex-husband decided to try to get my parenting rights taken away, or try to get my parenting rights taken away and decision-making rights, and I get served with papers that, I need to hand my daughter over right away to this person, to him, and it was just awful. It was awful. And so, that day, instead of going to get Sunny, I went in and I detoxed right away, and so I stopped drinking, and I haven't had any kind of drug or alcohol since, but it was a long, crazy fight, but right away, there was another surrender.
Yeah, what it looked like.
So I'm losing my daughter, right? Everything's falling apart, and she's my pride and joy. And, granted, a week earlier in Mexico, she's not even a thought in my mind, because what I'm thinking about is that drink.
And can I pause you for just a moment? Because I just think it's so fascinating that here in this community, and I know y'all get that, how quickly we can leave the things that are most important to us, how quickly those things become unimportant. And what's so cool about this community, name me another church that gets to see this, where moms and dads get their kids back, get to be in the life of their kids and be parents again, and that's what you're getting to do now.
Yep.
How cool is that?
Yeah. So I get served this letter, and within days, we hire this really great lawyer who's just available for us right away, and the sponsor I had at the time was like, you just need to start praying. That's all you can do. And you know what? These are your consequences. And she was really hard on me. And I was like, ugh. And that's all I could do was pray and pray and pray and pray and cry and pray. And it was a tough couple of days. But, a couple days later, it was a quick, emergency hearing. The day of that hearing, I had to go to work in the morning before then. And everyone's like, how are you doing? How are you doing? And I woke up and I was fine. I was at peace with whatever was coming. There was just this sense of peace. And it turned out just fine, nothing severe happened. I didn't lose anything with Sunny. And, right away, he shows up again.
So, Sydney, we just have a couple minutes left, and I would love for people to hear. You've been sober for a year now. What does dying to live mean to you? What does the paradoxes, right? Y'all know the paradoxes. We surrender to win. We die to live. We suffer to get well. We give it away to keep it. What does the paradox of you dying to live mean? And where's God in all of that?
So to me, it's the addicted me, the selfish, mean, angry, fear-driven person has to be put to rest, right? I have to let that person go. As much as I want to cling on to her because it's safe, it's all that I know. Because that's who I've always been. I have to let that go, and I have to just take this jump, this trust of fall, or whatever that is, fall trust, that something else is there, and let her die. I have to kill her. And that sounds really awful, but I do, so that something else can bloom and blossom within me. And the only way that can happen is if I let a higher power, or who I call God, in. Because the only thing stronger than the chains of alcohol, King Alcohol, is God. Yep. And so to die, to kill that old life, that old person, it's surrender. It's letting go, even when you don't even know how to. You just do. God and all of that today, how I experience God today, He shows up even when I'm not paying attention, but in craziness, right away, in miracles, not letting my daughter be taken away from me, or even in, here at Free with you when you're speaking to us, or watching Sunny play with all the kids here. You've seen her, you've seen my daughter, she's amazing, and I see God in her. all the time.
And what y'all don't know is Sydney's on like this deep spiritual journey right now. Y'all won't get the message that I'll get later tonight, but it'll be a message about, hey, could you explain that scripture a little bit in the Old Testament when you said this? And she's always asking these great questions about the Bible. We should have done a class called What is the Bible?
We should. Or we should.
Yeah, we're doing it now.
Oh.
Some of y'all are in it. Anyway, I love the questions that you asked, Sydney. I'm so glad you're sober. Girl, keep doing what's keeping you sober. You are on it. And I'm so glad you get your life back. That's so awesome.
Well, I'm glad to be here because I wanted to say this one last piece is that sometimes the battles that we fight aren't really for us. They're for the people coming in behind us. And so we have to win so that they don't have to deal with unfinished combat. So I'm glad we recover out loud.
Thank you for that, Sydney. So good to have you here. Thank you. All right, y'all. Man, it's just, I'm so grateful to have all of our guest storytellers up here and the bravery and the courage that y'all display just each and every week. It's so cool. So the way we close things here at Free is we share our heartaches together, the same way we do celebrations. Because we weren't created to carry these burdens alone. We do it together as community. So you have 3 minutes. For those of you online, take 3 minutes, drop it in the YouTube comments or the Facebook comments. It's part of being community, so I invite you all to get vulnerable. Let us know what you're carrying. We have a prayer team here at Free who lifts you up throughout the week and prays for y'all, and I know you guys do that for each other. And so let's take 3 minutes, and again, just if you're here in the house, slip up your hand, and Derek will pass you a mic, and you can give us the burden, and we're going to lift it up. And one thing we're sure of is God always hears the cries of the broken. Are you with me? All right, let's do some heartaches. Oh, we're back on. I got lost in a moment. Kavita, are you joining me up here? Kavita Darji coming in. Kavita, let me grab you, Mike. Look at Kavita in her, is it traditional Indian dress?
Punjabi dress.
Punjabi dress. Is that a traditional Indian thing, though?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It looks beautiful. I'm glad you're up here with me, Kavita.
Sorry, I'm on the wrong side.
Huh? Yeah, now you're on the right side, though.
Thanks.
You're good. So how we do this up here is you take the first one, and then I'll go, then you go, then I'll go.
Okay.
All right.
Stephanie, my heart is heavy for the unexpected death of Taylor Hawkins yesterday. I'm praying for his wife and children and the rest of the Foo Fighters as they enter grief in the limelight.
Yeah, that was a shock. Mm-hmm. Prayers for them. Thank you for lifting them up, Stephanie. Danny Colela says, prayers for Shirley's dad. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in November, and I know how tough it is on her family to just figure out all the details while he still can make decisions. Danny, I'm glad you're joining us online tonight. Prayers for Shirley's dad. Prayers for the whole family, man.
Sharon Flores, Jace Howard lost his life to his addiction this week. My thoughts and prayers are with his family. I'll always remember his infectious smile and laughter. The pain is over, Jace. May your soul now rest with the Lord. Amen.
Prayers for Jace's family. Paula says, as always, another beautiful share. I love your community from afar as I'm in Delaware. Welcome, Delaware. I don't know if we've ever had someone from Delaware. But if I ever manage to travel west, I will certainly be coming to Free for a coffee, meeting, and lots of love. Y'all are awesome. Well, we're going to take that as a celebration and not a heartache.
Yeah.
Paula, we're so glad you're joining us tonight. It's good to have you from Delaware. Let us know how you found us, too. Drop a line in the comments. We love to keep track of some of that. All right, let's do, is there another one? Was that it?
Nope.
Did you see the red dot? I did not see the red dot. Oh, how do I miss it? All right, y'all. Thank you, Kavita, for joining me up here. Thank you all for lifting up yourselves and other people in this community and being vulnerable and recognizing that we don't do this journey alone. Speaking of not doing journeys alone, one of the ways we are thriving in this community, one of the ways we continue doing our mission and keeping the doors open here, our mission of breaking the silence of addiction is through your generous donations here at Free. Literally, it's what keeps the doors open. So there's a giving box here. There's a giving box right outside these doors. We made it really big and clear. It just says giving on it. And if you feel called to give in this community, I want you to know how grateful we are, and I want you to know how much it means to us. And I also need to say there's online options of giving, but you can find that at freespiritualcommunity.com. But we are in the last week of a very important message that I need to share with y'all. So take a look. It's the last week. Preliminary reports suggest that the internal temperature at Free could reach 183.7 degrees by mid-July.
Whoo, it's hot.
In fact, when we moved in here, so many of you were asking the question, when is AC coming? Because we know July is coming and it's going to be hot. And so the good news is AC is coming to Free, air conditioning, but we are going to need your help. Now, here's the deal. We had a very generous donation, an offer of all the equipment and materials to get AC throughout the building. It is being donated to us, but we have to cover the installation costs, which is going to be just over $50,000. So we are starting the Keep Free Cool campaign, and we want to raise as much money as possible through the month of March to go towards that $50,000 installation cost to get air conditioning throughout the building. So here's what we're asking. Give what you can. If you care about staying cool and free and not sweating to death, give what you can. A small amount, a big amount, any amount helps. If you write a check, just write in the memo, Keep Free Cool. If you give online, which is at freespiritualcommunity.com/give, you can give there, and just again in the memo put Keep Free Cool. Because by this summer, we want Free to be cool in here. We want to provide a space. It's our mission to create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. That's what we're doing together. We are together breaking the silence of addiction, and then there's all these logistical pieces that come with that, like getting air conditioning. So we want you to be a part of it. We're doing this campaign through the month of March, where we hope to get as much money as possible towards that $50,000 that it's going to take to install air conditioning. Thank you so much for being a part of this. All right, y'all, we're going to try to keep free cool starting this summer, because when we moved in here, we realized, there's no AC in here. It's going to be hot. July is coming. We started this back on March 5th, so it's just been 3 weeks. And it's so cool to tell y'all we've raised over $35,000 so far. I think over 40 people have given to this campaign. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You do have 1 week left, so we'll close this thing down on Friday. So if you want to give before Friday, if this is an important mission to you, please do feel free to give. If you have any, it was so cool. Tonight earlier, someone handed me a $2,000 check towards this campaign. And he said, let's see if we could get some more. So thank you to that person. All right, y'all, thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for being so generous in this community. Brett, are you in the house? Brett, come on up here, dude. It's time to pray. We're going to close out in prayer. Now, for those of you that don't know the backstory, Brett is a praying mofo now. He told me it was a few weeks ago. You've been sober for 4 years.
4 years, yeah, it's amazing.
Come on. Brett said he was trying to pray more. He said he would get nervous in front of people. Sometimes Brett would drop an F-bomb at the wrong time, so don't drop an F-bomb in the prayer. No, don't do that either. So Brett's going to pray. I invited him a few weeks ago. I said, so the way we overcome that fear is we just step right on into it. So, Brett, can you close us in the Lord's Prayer?
Yes.
Yeah, take the mic.
Take your mic.
All right, let's do it. It'll be on the screen. If you don't know the Lord's Prayer, let's say it together.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For that is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Thank you, Brett. My free brothers and sisters, this week, I want you to ask yourself the question, would you give yourself to humility, honesty, and surrender if you knew that nothing but love and mercy was awaiting you on the other side? And because of that, this week, may you go in all kinds of grace and peace. And let's go party right out these doors, shall we? Let's do it. See y'all next week if you don't stay.